Welcome back to the Rainer Report. Every other week we give you this video report of issues that are critical to the life of congregations. Always I'm grateful for you joining us here at ThomRainer.com for the Rainer Report. I'm grateful for you making this really beneficial not only to you but to us as well. We try to give you information that is helpful. We try to give you information that is pertinent. We try to give you information that is relevant for your church today in a biblical way. And I hope that this particular episode of the Rainer Report will be something that you can hang on to and that you can say, okay, it was worth the 10 minutes I spent listening to Rainer. What is it? Well, it's 8 common characteristics of successful church revitalizations. Now, here's the good news. We have had the opportunity to watch a lot of revitalization attempts. Really, some of them have not gone very well, but a lot of them have. I love the revitalization world. I love the replanting world, like with Mark Clifton and the North American Mission Board. I love what we're doing at Revitalize Network. Go to revitalizenetwork.org and look at some of the things that are going on there. I love this emphasis on revitalization. And in this context, we have been able to see some key things that are happening in successful church revitalizations. So we want to share those. We're going to share 8 of those in this Rainer Report. Number 1 is this: the pastor formed an alliance of key influencers in the church. From the onset, whether they had informal or formal authority within the church, that pastor went to those influencers and began to listen more than anything. Not manipulate, not try to force an issue, just to listen. And by doing so, by listening to these people, they knew that that pastor was sincere about the direction he would lead the church. So the pastor formed that alliance of key influencers, and when it came time to lead change, he's still listening to them, and as he is listening to them, he's also getting their support, and they will in turn influence others within the church, and they will make a difference. Number 1, the pastor formed an alliance of key influencers. Love watching that characteristic. Number 2, these influencers made a commitment to pray daily for revitalization. What does that mean for the pastor? That means the pastor is not only forming this key alliances, he is also asking each of those influencers, would they commit for just a few seconds, 30, 45 seconds a day? Would you pray that our church would turn around? Would you pray that our church would revitalize? That does so many things. Well, first of all, it's just about the power of prayer. And you have people praying, but it also keeps it top of mind. It keeps it really at the forefront of what these influencers are thinking. And as the church is attempting to move forward, their prayers are a reminder to them of how important this Great Commission task is. And so they are really making a difference through the power of prayer. A third thing, the church made a commitment to look like the community. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's look at this hypothetical situation. And this one is really a reality in many churches. Let's suppose a church is 98% Anglo, white. And it's in a community that is 40% African American and maybe 40% Hispanic. Just numbers are made up. But these are sometimes realities. So 80% that are not reflected in the church or in the community, the Hispanic community and the African American community. The church says if we're going to be in this community, we need to look more like the community. And so, you can do one thing, and you can just say, okay, we're going to be welcoming to everybody. That's good, but that doesn't have the intentionality. The intentionality means you start looking for leadership that reflects the community. You start having people at the forefront that are speaking, preaching, leading worship that are like the community, in this example, the African Americans and or the Hispanics. And that sends a statement to the community that this is really our church. It's not the white church that's trying to become Hispanic or African American. This is our church. And I could give numerous examples on that. But the successful revitalization takes place when the church says, we want to look more like the community. Number 4, the church boldly confronted the issue of sacred cows. What are sacred cows? That are things that are getting in the way of revitalization. Some sacred cows are just sacred cows that are no hindrance, but the harmful sacred cows are those things that are getting in the way of revitalization. It may be a worship style. It may be a room or a parlor in the church that is not being used in a way that can make a difference in the community. You know those sacred cows in your church, and what we have seen in successful revitalization is that the church has boldly confronted those issues, and they're saying, we don't need to continue to worship these sacred cows. We need to do away with the idolatry of these sacred cows. Fifth, the leadership developed a clear and compelling vision. What is that vision? We're going to be a church of the community is one example. We're going to be a church that ministers within the community. We're going to be a church that is determined to reach people with the gospel. You can phrase the vision in such a way that it is compelling to the congregation. We've had many instructional videos, podcasts, blog posts about vision. You can just go to thomrainer.com and put in the word vision, and you'll see a lot of things that will be very helpful there. But you need to develop a clear and compelling vision. Number 6, the leadership communicated a sense of urgency. Let me tell you frankly what I'm seeing in many church revitalizations. Many of the members, most of the members, and a good number of the leaders in these churches think they have longer than they do. In other words, they say, we're really okay. We can hang in there doing things the way we've always done them for another 3 or 4 years, and 3 or 4 years comes around, and all of a sudden you're talking about closing the doors because you cannot afford to keep them open anymore. What we're seeing is this death spiral or this decline is happening more rapidly than it used to in the past. There are reasons behind that. I don't want to get into those reasons, but it has a lot to do with what we used to call, Mark Clifton would refer to it as the low-hanging evangelical fruit. I would talk about it as the culture that would want to come to the church that no longer wants to come to church. For that reason, if you're not in a revitalization mode, decline happens more rapidly, and you just kind of look up and it takes your breath away about how quickly things have happened. Church leaders need to communicate with a sense of urgency. We need to change, and we need to change quickly. Another characteristic of successful church revitalization is the pastor was willing to endure a season of intense criticism. That means that pastor has to have a thick skin. That means that pastor has to realize that there will be hurtful comments made in person, on social media, and other places. There will be a season during the most rapid change of the revitalization where the pastor may even wonder if it is worth it. You have to be prepared. And in the successful revitalizations, the pastors were prayerfully prepared. They had their allies or their alliance ready to stand by them, and they were ready to move forward despite the intense criticism. Number 8 is probably one of the more difficult ones, not to suggest that any of these are easy. The leadership of the church was willing to let go of members. It doesn't mean you're kicking them out. It doesn't mean you're telling them change or leave. But here's the reality. When you make some changes in your church, there are going to be some people who think church is about 3 people, me, myself, and I. And if you hit one of their little favorite areas, if you hit one of those things that they want in the church, one of their perks and privileges, they may exit. For the greater good of the church, you must be willing to let go. In other words, just accept it in the midst of the pain that there will be members that you will lose. You need to have that reality. You need to be spiritually ready, and you need to be emotionally ready as well. We love seeing what's happening with churches across North America and the world. We love seeing revitalization. And I hope these 8 characteristics will be helpful to you as you're thinking about leading your church to revitalization. As always, we're so grateful to Costco and Associates, our sponsor. Tim Songster is our friend and the CEO of Costco. Really the premier church building firm. They're both a building and design firm. I encourage you to go to their site, churchdesign.com. That's churchdesign.com, and to look at this incredible organization that's building churches across North America and doing a great job. As always, thank you for being here at the Rayner Report. Be with us every other week as we continue to look at critical issues in the church and we grow healthy churches together.